Ray Allen Canine. It's no secret that we love Ray Allen Canine equipment. We use their products every single day at both Van Ness Canine and at Torchlight. Their mission statement says it all: to be the world leader in quality innovation for professional canine equipment for police, military, Schutzen, and ring sport. Tend to exceed their customers' expectations and deliver on time every time at a fair price. We full heartedly believe that they've held true to that since it is our go to one stop shop for everything canine, not just police dogs, but for any working dog.
This episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at Dogtra, dogtra.com. It's the e-collars that Ted and I use. It's e-collars most police dog guys use. Dogtra.com, e-collars, bark collars, ball launchers, one-stop shop for everything you need for your working dog, dogtra.com.
One of the other sponsors we're proud to have is Hitz Canine Training Conference. It's the premier canine training seminar in the United States, packed to the brim with the world's best instructors covering important topics from admins to liability to detection work, all and tracking and everything in between. There's no better place to learn and no better place to network with other handlers, breeders, and trainers. Hitz 2022 is being held in Orlando in August. So hit them up, hitzcanine.net.
We're super happy to be represented by our good friends at Kinetic Dog Food. We've got great reviews from people all over the place. Ever since we joined up with them and partnered with them, their commitment to your dog's nutrition is top notch. KineticDogFood.com. Check them out.
Jim over at NC Canine out in North Carolina. It's the culmination of 13 years of experience in handling or training law enforcement canines. They use real world deployments to develop their training program and rely not only on their experience, but the current experience of the nation's canine handlers provide the best canine partner you can get. They provide pet training and police canine training based out of Four Oaks, North Carolina, and they serve the surrounding areas as well as nationally. Feel free to call them and learn more about their dog training program, police canine techniques, and methodologies.
We got a brand new sponsor, man, American Aluminum Accessories. My entire time in canine, and ever since I've been involved in the dogs, the kennel in the back of our cruisers has always been American Aluminum. Check them out. We're so happy to have them on here. EasyRiderOnline.com, EasyRiderOnline.com for everything you need from American Aluminum Accessories.
Speaking of kennels, once you get out of the car, you got to have somewhere to put them. So our friends up in Ohio at Horizon Structures make a one-stop shop for kennel. If you want a 2-dog kennel or if you want a 20-dog kennel, they got you covered. They get those things built and they drop it off at your house. All you got to have is a pad, electricity, and water, and you can put dogs in it that day. Horizon Structures can build you anything from mild to wild, and it is the one-stop shop, and you don't have to swing a single hammer. So hit them up, horizonstructures.com.
All right, everybody, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. I am Eric Sambro coming to you from Canton, Ohio, basically. With me, as always, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, is our co-host, Ted Summers. Ted, what is going on?
Worky. More of the same. Doing some pet dogs and getting the facility built out. The landlord sent the crews over, and we got the tear down done and the drawings done. So it looks they're going to put a brand new fence in, tore a bunch of trees out. We're going to build a bunkhouse for our veteran program, for the VA program, and for like if you're going to go through handler school with me, I have a place for you to stay. There, we're going to build a shower, all kinds of crazy shit. So it's going to be good. They're going to put in floor drains, 2 giant floor drains. So I can, and then they're going to build where the dogs are, is basically like a giant, you're going to put a curb around it. So it's like a giant bathtub, and I can just hose that shit down every day with fucking Wizzy Wash and Kennel Saw and push it into the floor drain. Yes, it'll be nice, or well, me or somebody. So, and then I got a single purpose dog that I've got to finish up because he's going to South Dakota probably into May-ish. So yeah, what about you? You got the build out done yet?
No. The grand opening is scheduled for May 3rd for the new facility for the pet stuff. Excuse me. We have something going on there the 24th of April on a Saturday. So it'll be basically done. We got to be training a bunch of new daycare girls, and my daughter and several of her friends and 2 of my nieces are going to be working there this year. So this summer, at least, we'll see how it goes after that. But you make no bones about it, working at daycare sucks, and I don't blame anyone who gets sick of it. So One of my original employees, she just quit the other day. Was her last day. She, gave me a notice and everything, and she's like, "Are we okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's doggy daycare. You've been here 3 years of cleaning piss and breaking up, preventing dog fights and stuff." And
yeah, that would be like, we're still deciding whether we're going to do it. And I'm like,
no,
I
don't.
don't
I'm
want
telling
to
you,
do it.
don't do it.
We're doing the
Don't
board and
do it.
trains, and I'm even like iffy on doing one-on-ones. I don't want to do those
Mhm.
either. Board and trains I'm okay with, and because I don't have to, well, I'm just okay with the board and trains because I just have to deal with the dog.
Mhm.
So I'm not real enthused about the idea of a doggy daycare.
No,
And
it doesn't really help. It's not going to do anything but maybe pay your light bill. I find it barely pays for itself because of payroll, payroll taxes and all that stuff. I do get good content, and I do get clients, and I like having a place for dogs to go. But um, if I would have done things a little bit differently, and I might not have done the daycare, but
we have they're giving us a 6,500 square foot fenced in yard. And I'm going to split it up into two. I'm going to build like a USPCA obstacle course for the bitey assholes, and then we'll have the other portion of it for like the pets and some of the other stuff, and for some of the sport people. But yeah, I'm not real excited about doing doggy
yeah,
daycare. That does not sound. The facility's not set up for it. So, because they would suck up all my training floor room, and I'm like, nah,
yeah.
I'm good.
I have 2
So,
days left in my handler school. They graduate on Friday, and then no more handler schools until the fall, and maybe not even then. Well, I just got a contract for a single purpose dog. I'll do one for that handler over the summer. That's no big deal, though.
right.
And then I got a contract for 2 more, possibly 3 more green dogs, but they'll get trained by someone else. So, anyways, that's it. So what do we have going on tonight?
Well, tonight we have one of our buddies that runs a very nice facility out on the East Coast. That's, I think this conversation tonight is going to kind of revolve around what the future probably looks like for green dogs and police dog sales. Not usage, but sales, because, there's a lot of stuff going on around usage right now, which I don't really want to talk about, or at least not on this podcast, not on this episode. But we have with us tonight from Black Rock Canine, David Rivera. David, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
Worky, same as always. Same. It's like fucking Groundhog Day. It's get up and go scoop poop and go not get bit. So,
I hear you.
So, give us a little bit of your background, and how we got to this conversation today.
Yeah, cool. So, joined the Air Force. Was enlisted for 7 years in civil engineering squadron. Had fun with that. Decided to leave and joined the City of Bridgeport Police Department in Connecticut. Worked there for some time, and switched over to the town of New Canaan, where I was lucky enough to get partnered up with a canine. I've been working my dog for some time. He's a dual-purpose German Shepherd, patrol narcotics. And while I was going through school and going through my training groups, I was, just observing other dogs and watching other dogs go out for, health issues. One dog got, I believe it was PRA, progressive retinal atrophy, and went completely blind. And this is after like the dog had gone through the entire course. The city had paid, a ton of money, and lucky enough, they had a vendor that, they had been dealing with forever who supplied them with another dog at no cost. But, you talk about the overtime comp that department paid, and all for stuff that could really be done or at least screened for with some genetic tests. So I started to see that go on, and my passion really grew for canine as I was working my dog and working in my department. I kept on having people come up to me asking me where I should get my dog, and it just grew into my company now, which is Black Rock Canines. So yeah, we're here on the East Coast, started in 2017, and just been grinding ever since.
That's crazy. You started only in 2017 because I've got several dogs from you. Ted's got several dogs from you. Some other folks we know have. The amount of dogs that you're bringing in on a monthly basis is like astronomical, considering, it's been just a few short years, and like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to be bringing in what you're bringing in, or even have that many in my kennel. But so like like everyone, you start out with a few kennels. Where are you at now?
Man, so it's been a journey. I'm going to be honest, it's been tough. Running your own business, being a cop at the same time, you have your ups, your downs. Luckily enough, I'm truly blessed at this point to be in a really, really good spot. We have numerous federal contracts with CBP. We're going after a bunch of others. We're looking into the detection side of things. It's been great, but it's been a process. I mean, just Eric, you mentioned the amount of dogs that we bring in. That was a learning process within itself. Learning, how many videos I had to make here in the U.S. to show my European vendors, right? And I say European, but I have vendors from across the world that deal with us. Show them exactly what we're looking for, or what I'm looking for in a dog that I'm looking to purchase. And that's good and bad, because you get to see what the dog looks like, and the dog may look like a rock star in a video, and you get the dog here and he shits himself going into Home Depot. So you always run those chances, but I've been very lucky to be really upfront with my vendors and let them know, the possibilities of continued business if they just do the right thing and supply great dogs. One dog, two dogs, they add up. The prices of dogs are going up. The currency exchange, I think it's like for every
Shipping.
€1.
Yeah.
What's that?
Fucking shipping.
Shipping. I mean,
yeah.
But you figure right now with the currency exchange rate, €1 is $1.19, and it fluctuates daily. So I've been stuck paying $1.22 per euro. So you try to hit it when the market's right. But the price of dogs for guys like me just keep on increasing. There's so much competition across the world. You have other countries, Saudi Arabia, China, just going in there and paying big bucks, quite frankly, for the best dogs first. And you know how it is. You get what you pay for.
And I knew before we started recording, for everybody watching and listening to this, like, we kind of like did a rundown of what we're going to talk about, and I knew that this was going to open a can of worms and shit that it ever. So let's back up for a second. So when you get your first dog, what was the selection process there? Did you select the dog? Did the vendor select the dog for you? Because you're in Connecticut. What's the process for going through school? Because I know, like, the Mass State guys have a process that's not uninvolved to get a police dog there. So what's the process like there in the selection, like, before we go down all these other comments?
Yeah. So in my own department, it was it was tough. You had to put in a memorandum to the chief saying that you were interested in being a canine officer, and then they took a look at your performance within the last couple of years, motor vehicle stops, what you've done. If you're a dirtbag, they'd probably pass up on you for that position. But then we had an oral board along with that, and the vendor at the time he didn't sit in it. It was a chief from another department that was a canine handler before, my deputy chief and my chief, and they ran us through a bunch of questions, and basically based on the questions and the way you answered, you were ranked and graded. And so, you know, I'm in a small department, so I went from the city of Bridgeport at that time, had 430 officers, to a small suburban town with I think 47 sworn. So it was me and another guy that had put in for the position, and I ultimately got it over him. But it's funny, like in the canine world, you know, the chief talked about having 2 dogs in the department, and the second dog just never came. So I got really lucky in getting the dog.
Yeah, that inevitably happens. Eric and I see that a lot. So when you guys make the decision that you're going to be the chauffeur, who, you don't have to, I mean, you can if you want, tell us where the dog came from, but not, so what was the selection process like for the dog? Basically where I want to go is, we're going to kind of head towards the bottleneck problem with supply and demand. So
yeah. So there's another canine vendor in Connecticut. You know, they do a good job too. So we went there, and I was basically a spectator. Like, you know, this was my first working dog. You know, I knew as much as I could read. Right. And my vendor at the time, with another trainer, looked at a couple of dogs and ultimately, you know, found my partner, Paolo. And so that session, you know, with my actual dog probably lasted 10, 15 minutes. And then the vendor handed me the leash and said, hey, put the dog in your car. It's your dog. Let's go. Yeah.
Here's your dog.
Right. And so now I have this, you know, German Shepherd that's full of piss and vinegar. And I end up taking him home, and he was underweight. So I had to bring him up to speed with that. And then he ended up getting kennel cough from the, you know, I don't know where he got it from, but he had kennel cough. And so we had to, you know, work that out with him and get him healthy before we can even start the class. And so now, you know, I'm here with my partner, and, you know, I have about a week, 2 weeks to acclimate to him and for him to get to know me. And, you know, did the whole feeding him out of my hand, all that good stuff. But it's interesting because, you know, with some of these dogs, you just don't know.
No, you don't. Yeah, I believe me, you know which ones I have. So I have a couple of those right now. So you know, in hindsight, would you have selected him now?
So listen, I love my guy. You know, he's my partner, but knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have. And this is after looking at, you know, obviously hundreds of dogs.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough because knowing what I know now, like the smallest things that, you know, you can look at when you're choosing dogs and watching videos and just watching, you know, it's small things, right? Like the way the dog pins his ears back when it sees something, or when vendors cut videos short when they're doing bite work.
That's Eric's favorite. When they don't show him taking them off. Eric loves that.
Right. You know, or my favorite is, you know, they're showing this dog going over you know, a bunch of obstacles, but it's in drive, right? So the guy has the ball right in front of the dog. And the dog doesn't care at that point. It's going to go everything. Take the ball away. Make the dog do those things without the ball. So those are some of the things that I try to get my vendors to do to get an accurate idea of what the dog is actually like.
You know, and you mentioned something earlier. You mentioned a lot of stuff earlier that I'm trying to remember and go in order. And that's one of the things, like, it seems like we get the same videos from the vendors, and I'm pretty sure like they just pass the videos around, and there's always a question of who actually has the dog. I've actually gotten the same video from 3 different vendors on a single dog, and I finally am like, who has the dog? And it's 3 different prices, right? And I'm like, who has it? Like, where is he? And so one that I know, like in person, I just texted him. I'm like, dude, who has this damn dog? And he's like, oh, he's wherever. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, that kind of makes sense. But, and that's an interesting thing. And Eric is notorious for, I don't remember which episode it was we were talking about it, but they're like, stop showing me this shit and show me something, like show me this or show me that. And the Europeans don't like doing, or the vendors in general, sometimes they don't end up liking that a lot. And you have to kind of like talk to them and say, look, this is what I need. Like, you can show me a video all you want, but I got to have this. And you made a comment earlier about the competition. A lot of times, my home department, for example, Tulsa PD, their canine unit is great. They do a great job, super professional. It's super well run. He's a corporal now, or lieutenant, and anyway, great guy, has been there for freaking ever. And but their bid process is kind of interesting because it's a bid, so it goes out, right? Like you have to submit the bid. And they have this list of requirements. Number 1 is the dog has to be imported. They can't take a domestic dog, right? Has to be male. Yeah. Oh yeah. Has to be male. Has to be intact. Right, which I get, right? Then it has to pass all the testing and screening, everything else. So the way that it works is City Hall, not the police department, City Hall sends that bid out, and then they select the vendor.
They who?
City Hall.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then City Hall turns around and tells them, they're like, here's your vendor. I swear to God. And you said earlier, and you made a comment earlier, like, all the man hours wasted, and our troopers did the same thing with a very well-known vendor. They had some dogs that washed, and they had to replace them. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, but like, you're going to get 10 weeks into a program and replace a dog. Like, are they going to pay you back for the 10 weeks?
Right. I mean,
or,
you figure those costs.
Or another department that's semi-close to us did a similar deal, and they had to go back to North Carolina 3 times. Actually, they went back twice, and the vendor came back out here 3 times to replace 3 dogs. And I was like, I mean, yeah, you picked the lowest vendor or the lowest priced vendor, but what did it end up actually costing? And that it has been an ongoing thing in the industry. And I think, when we start talking about competition with the Chinese and the South Africans and the Australians and whoever, everybody is paying more than us. I have departments that have come back to us. They bought a dog 8 years ago. He retired. They bought a new one. Right. They're like, oh, we need a new one to replace him. And I'm like, okay, well, this is the price now. And they're like, oh, that seems like a lot. And I'm like, well, you bought the last one when Clinton was in office. So, I mean, shit has oil has gone up. Everything's gone up.
Have you seen lumber?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know.
That's Eric,
Eric, yeah. OBS is what, like $40 a sheet now or something ridiculous. So kind of moving forward, like after you get established and moving into kind of supplying dogs, and this is pre-COVID because we'll have that conversation too. But at what point did you kind of see the gap or like the bottleneck that I think this is pre-COVID, by the way, that every vendor or every police department in the country that I talk to is, I had phone calls today. Guys are like, oh, there's no dogs available. I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, they're not really. So at what point did you kind of see the gap? Like,
so here's the important thing. There aren't many good dogs available.
Well, okay, yeah.
And that's like, there's dogs available. You're gonna waste your money on them. That's the problem right now. The demand has gotten so bad that they're starting to ship dogs over that are 10, 11 months old. And, to be quite frank, the balls haven't dropped yet. And, they have all the drive and that's nice, but environmentally speaking, they just don't have enough to do the job yet. So you spend all this money to get this dog in. But to answer your question, I started seeing this my second year in business, and it's funny because vendors will start sneaking dogs in, right? So I had a case where I had a dog come over. Dog was great, but only had one testicle. The second testicle didn't drop. And so typically a good vendor would let you know that and say, hey, do you want to take care of it over here? Which most of the time you would, because it's cheaper. Or, what do you want to do? Doesn't say a word to me. So I end up taking this dog and I go to sell it. And the vet at this company I deal with, goes ahead and does the check. And she's like, oh, he has one testicle. Oops, sorry. I didn't know. I didn't think I had to check his testicles off the plane to make sure that they were there. I thought that vendor would be upfront and honest with me. And then the conversation afterwards with the vendor, oh, I didn't know it was a big deal. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yeah.
But it's bad. And you talk about pre-COVID, even with pre-COVID, getting working dogs here in the United States has been very, very difficult. So much so that each year that I've been in business, Lackland has a military working dog kind of consortium going on, and I get emails from them all the time, like for updates on what I'm seeing in the working dog industry and how hard it is for me as a vendor to get those dogs. And it's funny, every time they ask me, what I'd like to happen, or what they can do to make this better for vendors like us. My response to them is stop going overseas and buying 300 dogs at a clip.
Right.
There's not 300 good dogs in Europe. There isn't.
Right.
All the time.
Right. But what that does is when they do that, it inflates the price, because they go over and pay top dollar for these dogs, and dogs that shouldn't be bought are bought. They come overseas and fail, and it's great. The U.S. government could take that hit, but then what we're left over is, we're left over with all the crumbs, and it's difficult.
So, in terms of like selection and testing and everything else, I think that I think for the most part, some of them some of the vendors have probably their heart and their head in the right place, but they make some mistakes based on what they think we want or need or whatever. And I've actually been shipped a dog that had stitches from being neutered, and the vendor was like, oh, I didn't know. And I had a dog shipped in from a vendor that supposedly the dog was bred in Holland, and he had heartworm. He was in country. He was here. He was at my facility for 3 days before we tested him, and it takes 6 months to test positive. And where he shipped from, they don't have heartworm. And the vendor was like, it's impossible. I'm like, well, I don't know what you want me to tell you. I mean, and the guy is a stand-up dude. He took care of it. But I actually went to the vet, did a time-lapse video on my phone from the blood draw to the positive result. And he's like, I don't know what to tell you. And turned to find out his vendor lied to him. So, and he was like, well, the dog, he was like, I found this out. And he's like, never again. I'm like, well, just so you know, like, this is what happened. But he took care of it. So, the guy did what he was supposed to do.
And let me back up. Listen, I mean, I wouldn't be where I am without these partners, right? Without these guys overseas. So, I'm telling, of course, I'm telling you guys all these bad stories, but there are some really, really great guys overseas that are doing awesome things.
Right. For sure.
I had a U.S. vendor sell me a pregnant dog. You ever have that? Fucking pregnant dog sold to you?
You beat me on that.
Fucker. I ended up with 11 puppies.
And you still have one.
I do, Jesse Joe.
The yellow lab, Jesse.
Making money
So-
back?
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah.
So we're going to take a break real quick, and when we come back, we're going to start talking about how we address the problem. So don't go anywhere. Don't fast forward through the commercials. All right, we're going to take a quick break and talk about some people that make this show possible. First of all is our friends over at Southern Coast Canine. The Heisers, Bill and Peggy, love them to death. Bill's been around for freaking ever, and they have fantastic dogs. In fact, if you're looking for a reputable canine kennel for dog sales and training services, look no further than sunny New Smyrna, Florida. Fun fact, it never gets cold there, I promise. I've been there a couple times. It's awesome. Southern Coast Canine provides services worldwide, from purchasing your next single or dual purpose working dog to handler schools and seminars. They do green dogs as well. Southern Coast is a great resource, so check them out. Head over to Southern Coast Canine, that's letter K, number 9.com, or 877-903 dogs, DOGS, and then find them on all the socials at Southern Coast Canine, letter K, number 9.
We have a long-standing relationship with the guys over at Hitz Canine Training Conference. It's truly America's premier canine seminar. It is the largest. It is the best. They cover every important topic in the canine industry. Hundreds and hundreds of vendors, thousands of canine people there. Everybody you know in this industry is there. Ted and I will be teaching. Hitz 2022 is being held in Orlando, Florida, August 16th to the 19th. Also, check out their website, hitzcanine.net. They have other classes that they're putting out online, Zoom classes and all kinds of other things. They're offering in-person classes leading up to Hitz 2022, Orlando, Florida, August 16th to the 19th. Check it out, hitzcanine.net.
Everyone knows that I live on chicken nuggets and Coors Light. So that doesn't mean your dog should, though. Our friends at Kinetic make it a point to fuel working dogs, and they know that it can be tough, and they need high quality food, unlike me, to give them energy and the nutrients that they require. I just subsist on air and Coors Light, but the dogs can't. They actually have to work. So for that, we asked Kinetic, and Kinetic has come up with a great balance of healthy meats and grains, and is made specifically for working and sport dogs. They have a full line of foods and supplements available, and they've been working to perfect their line for thousands of dogs in hundreds of departments across the U.S. You can buy it locally online or at Tractor Supply, or you can get it at Chewy. So head over to their website, kineticdogfood.com, 513-615-6904, and get them on the socials at Kinetic Dog Food.
So probably the number one product I've ever advertised for or used that does what they say is Quick Derm by Vet Care. I have it at my house. I have it at the kennel. I have it at the fun house. I have it at the doggy daycare. I have my trainers have it at their house. It is unbelievable how it works. You guys have all heard Ted and I talk about it, how we've gotten tagged by dogs, or dogs do, if you're dealing with working dogs, weird stuff happens, right? Cuts that, how the hell that happened? Bites, scratches, all kinds of things that happen, especially if you're doing anything in the wooded area, they get tore up. The Quick Derm by Vet Care, it is no exaggeration. It is great. So once daily treatment for any skin condition or small wounds to help stop little issues from becoming big ones. Comes in sprays, ointments, or dressing. Quick Derm is great at creating a protective barrier and promoting wound healing. The best thing too is they have a discount code. Get on their website, vetcare.us. That's vetcare.us. Put in the discount code 10WDR in capital letters, 10WDR for 10% off your first order.
These next guys have actually been on the show, and we instructed at the first Tripwire conference down in Florida. Jim O'Brien was a guest on the show, and he runs NC Canine, who has now come onto the show as a sponsor. Jim's been around for quite a long time, about 13-ish years, with experience handling and training law enforcement canines. He uses real-world deployments to develop training program and not rely only on their experience, but current experiences from most of their national canine teams and handlers to provide the best canine partner that you guys can purchase. They provide pet training and police canine services based out of Four Oaks, North Carolina, and they serve the surrounding areas. Feel free to give Jim a call, a text, carrier pigeon, however you want to get a hold of him, to talk to him about police canine training or pets and techniques and methodologies. So hit him up at 919-438-0141 or J O'Brien. That's JOBRIEN at NC letter K number 9.us. Check the show notes. We'll put it there. All right, we're back with David Rivera from Black Rock Canine. We've been talking about kind of how we move forward through this issue of the problem we're having right now in the country, which is shortage of dogs. Some of it's due to COVID, some of it's due to competition from other countries and other places buying up dogs, and it's just like, it's getting overfished. So at this point, we're still pre-COVID and we're having these problems, and then COVID starts. And like all the flights just, Eric, didn't you have some like dogs that you were supposed to have shipped in that we never made it because, or somebody did? It wasn't you. Who was it?
No, I don't think so. I just, everything shut down. So, I went for a little period. For me, it was interesting. I had a kennel full of dogs right at the start of the COVID lockdowns in March of last year, and sold them all the week prior to the shutdown, like all of them. Wow. It was really weird. So I had some capital, to do, but you put money in my account, I'm spending that bitch. I did a build, I was doing a build out on the fun house and everything like that. And then, and that was the thing, you just weren't going to get dogs. And that was not just us, like my vendors in Europe, talking to them. One of them has a job, but one of my guys in Germany, my main guy in Germany, he just does dogs. And over there, their COVID lockdowns were like some World War II era type, coming to your house and looking in your windows, and we're going to knock on your door and come in and see how many people you have. They're tracking your phone, your passport, of course. You get, as soon as if you left the country and came back, they sent you an order. They would come get you, and you got to go get COVID tested. And so it wasn't good for anyone. And then things started to open up a little bit and started shipping, but then they got shut down again. When was that? January this year, David, right at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
I think that's right.
They dumped a lot of interesting dogs here because everybody needs money to live and to operate, especially if it's your only business. But so it definitely affected everything. And I've said this before in other podcasts, and I still believe it, that the shipping costs are the way they are because the airlines don't want you to ship dogs. I do still predict that they will stop shipping dogs. I don't know when, sometime in the next few years. They kill a couple more dogs, they're going to stop shipping dogs.
It's too much of a liability too, if you think about it. I mean, dog breaks out of a crate and it's a, beautiful Malinois that wants to just do its job and starts munching on somebody on the tarmac. I mean, just look at the lawsuit.
Yeah, didn't you just have that? Not the biting part, but a dog you were waiting to be shipped was running all around Eastern Europe. Woo!
Yep.
Good.
And how does that happen? Oh,
I think the dog's in your kennel, isn't he?
Oh,
Ted?
Is he? Which one?
Yeah, Snap. Right.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
No, he has a roof on his.
I know.
That does not surprise me, and that dog's fast. I didn't realize that. Oh, so cool. That's Snappy. Yeah, Mr. Snap. So we have this problem with supply and demand. We have this gap, and after COVID, there was something going on. We were trying to get a dog shipped in from the same guy, another dude in Europe, and there was something. We had to fly our dogs into either Kansas City or Houston. That was the closest international we can get them to. So it's like a 6-hour drive or an 8-hour drive. It sucks. So the flights from like Amsterdam or wherever this guy was shipping from, they went from like 42 flights a year or a week to like 6 or something. I don't even think it was 6. And all of those were booked up. And so
for medical supplies.
Or yeah, or whatever.
Yep.
They were definitely not putting dogs on there. If they were, they're like, oh, you can fly 2. And so the vendor's like, well, I mean, he's ready to ship, but I mean, the flight airlines are like, there's no flights. Like, I mean, he's like, oh, I can fly him to Atlanta. I'm like, bro, that's like 16 hours from here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm driving to fucking Atlanta to pick up a dog. I mean, well, I can just fly him to LA, I guess. I'll pick him up there. But so, you know,
Dude, it was tough.
yeah, it renewed this, and I've had a couple of conversations with some departments down in Texas that were import only, and COVID they changed. They're like, we don't care where he comes from as long as he's healthy and whatever else. So this has kind of renewed this COVID for whatever reason. Has kind of renewed this debate, or not debate, but has renewed this conversation with domestically bred dogs in the United States. And I'm not talking about Lackland. Like they have their own thing. They got the puppy program, and that's a different deal altogether. Like that's its own a giant animal. I'm talking about departments like yours. Like you guys have one dog, right? You're not going to start a breeding program. LAPD famously tried to start one, and they didn't either. So it didn't work out. So
I'll tell you why.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, what's the answer?
It's too expensive here in the U.S. Quite frankly, I try to do it on the for-profit side, and the losses. You're talking about a living, breathing animal, right? So,
right.
You're raising this dog for a year. Economically speaking, it costs about $7,000 to raise this dog with staff, with vet bills, with food, and God forbid the dog gets injured, or one of your staff makes a mistake and pushes the dog too far, and now you have a dog that's fearful or has environmental issues at 9 months old, 10 months old, and now the dog doesn't overcome it, and you have to take that $6,000 hit because you just spent 10, 11 months on that dog. So it's not economical to do it unless you're doing it at scale, and the price of the dog is more than what most departments can pay for just a dog. So you have other companies that have been successful at doing this, but their price point for their dogs are over $10,000. They're great dogs, don't get me wrong, but they're more than what a normal department can pay for.
Right.
So it's very difficult to do it if you were to do it on the for-profit side, because you can lose your shirt doing it.
I remember when we first met, we talked on the phone and this was a while ago, and you said, hey, I think I'm going to try to get this breeding program going so that we can, we have the European bloodlines here, but I'm setting it up, and I'm like, listen, dude, everybody I've ever talked to says it's a no win because of the cost.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's been about a year recently you gave me that. You're like, yeah, dude, I can't do it. And you gave me that cost now. So now when people ask me or they mention it to me, I go, I'm telling you, don't do it. And this is how much it costs per dog, because my buddy tried it for like a year. And so
and that's if you're cheap, man. That's if you're scraping by and just trying to work it out. But yeah, it was tough. And did I raise great dogs? Yeah, there's some dogs here in the U.S. that are working that we raised. Feels really good to have done that. But then I could tell you a bunch more that are pets right now.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very expensive pets.
Yeah. We talked about that with Subtle, but like, you got to have a network, man. If you don't have it, a name or a network, you're going to struggle.
Yep.
And that's the thing, like, because we've done it, and some of our most successful dogs are ones that we selected or bred and then selected. But and this kind of goes back to that old, like, 100% of these dogs are going to work, and they're not. So, and puppies are a crapshoot. And how do you know? And the greatest success that I've had is if you have a litter, like keeping, because nobody wants a female, so it's always males, right?
Oh,
So the strongest
crazy.
males, I know that's another conversation. You can do a podcast just on that. But keeping 2 or 3 of them, because that's all you can stand to work at a time.
Yep.
And if you have a litter of 10, then it's like you either sell the nice ones or you pass them off to people, or just fucking give them to people. Like we ended up giving some to trainers, and they're nice dogs, right? But raising a puppy is a fucking art form. And so, if you're putting all of your eggs into these 2 or 3, then you get lucky, hopefully. But you're right. I mean, you spend a shitload of time, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So, and that's why, I really, really, and when I had this conversation today with somebody, like departments call me, they're like, "Oh, I had a dog donated." I'm like, "I bet you did." And they think that it's going to save cost or something. Like, we have a 12-week-old puppy that we had donated. I'm like, well, you're 2.5 years from that dog working. So if under the best circumstances,
Right.
and it's an extremely like difficult prospect. So the other thing about this is the United States is big. Like all of our friends from, Europe are, I mean, the United States is huge in comparison to the rest of Europe. And so like when we were in Vegas and one of our buddies from Holland was like, "Oh, can you take me to LA?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's like 5 hours the wrong way." And he's like, "Oh, but it's only like this far on the map." I'm like, "Dude, no, I'm not driving you to fucking LA." And that's a good track. No, I'm not driving you to LA. Are you crazy? So, but we're spread out, so we don't have, like you said, like Eric said, we don't have a network. So you have to have, and that's the thing that the Europeans have. They have 100 years of
Right.
community,
Yep.
and a history of raising those dogs. It's one thing that they do extremely well. So,
which is dwindling though.
well,
So you have these new generations that just don't want to take it up. It's hard work.
Yeah.
And so I've had multiple conversations with some of my European friends, and the amount of people that are showing up to sport day is dwindling. And so what are we going to do to make sure that doesn't happen? Who's going to be raising our dogs if not them?
Yeah. So before we end up getting into our next break and then going into one of the main reasons why we talked, I want to talk real quick about the adult dog, the importing business, the stuff that that you and I do and Ted and you do together, and some of that stuff like that. So how many kennels are you at now at your place?
So we have the capacity right now to scale to 40.
Oh,
yeah.
Sounds fucking horrible. I'm sorry, but scale to 40.
Yeah.
So every time I talk to you, you're getting 15 to 20 in at a time. And because you're getting, good dogs and the word gets out, and I know there's some some agencies, like government agencies that you sell to, that'll buy a truckload, or maybe another vendor that'll buy a whole bunch. So one of the big things that we hear from some folks who go, "I never ever would buy a dog from video. I only ever go to Europe." But here's somebody that has 40 kennels, and it's you and like 2 people working there. And then you work a full-time job on night shift, and you have kids. Talk about the realism on that end about how hard it is to actually be able to go to Europe and do that.
To have a kennel like that, dude, it's I'll tell you this, you learn something new about dogs every single day. It's a hustle, it's a grind, extremely difficult. If you don't like being bit, you might as well just hang everything up and walk away. Got some nice scars here from some very choice dogs that I have a very good relationship with. But it's a grind, man. Every single day, your staff needs to be committed. You need to have people that know what they're doing. You have to build a team. I mean, the team is everything. So right now, taking myself out of the equation, we have 3 full-timers and 2 part-timers. And it's every single day. I mean, just picking up the waste and feeding the dogs takes a good portion of the day. And then you factor, and then you factor in like having to work every single dog and get reps in and figuring out which dogs have issues that you have to work through and address and make better. Because the way I work is, if I don't think a dog is good enough to be on the road, I don't sell it. And we're lucky enough, Eric, you mentioned that network. I have a network of people, whether they're sport dog people or just, on my pet side, that we're able to find homes for all of these dogs, which is great. It's great. But the grind in doing this, it's not like what everyone thinks it is. It's dirty, nasty work. You're always in dog shit. You're getting bit, scratched, and then that's just the dog side. You want to talk about getting back to customers, right? And talking about the business side. My phone is ringing nonstop every single day. And part of my task every single day is to delete voicemails and clear that so I could get new voicemails. That's great. It just means that, we're doing a good job. And I say we're, because I'd be nowhere without my team. I got some great people working for me. My dad works for me. He busts his ass, every single day. My second in command, Danny, and then I got some Lieutenant Finucane and just the whole team. I mean, I feel bad. So Abby and Olivia as well. I mean, I can't even not say their names because they're so integral to the whole process. And by not saying their name, I feel so bad. So it's just. It's tough. It's tough. And for anyone that's thinking about getting into this, if you don't love it, don't do it. If it's not in you, if it's not in your blood, don't do it, because you're gonna lose your shirt. You're gonna get really hurt, and you're just gonna unfortunately end up failing if you don't love it.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and take a break because it looks like my phone is dead. So we're going to go ahead and take a break while I get a charging cord on this. Come back. We're going to talk about a really neat nonprofit that David's got going on. We'll be right back. All right, guys, this episode has been brought to you by great sponsors of ours. Please don't skip through this. Take a listen to them. One of our oldest sponsors and great friends of ours are the people down at Highland Canine down in North Carolina. I really like him. We see him at all the conferences. I know a lot of people have been to their school for dog trainers. They've been on the podcast. Highland Canine, they're a full service canine and pet dog training business where they can train you to be a trainer. They can get you a dog. They have handler classes. They have supervisor classes. They have trainers courses for just LE. They have them for anybody who wants to be in the dog business, be a dog trainer of any kind. Check them out. Their website is tacticalpolicecaninetraining.com, tacticalpolicecaninetraining.com. If you are smart, you'll go down there in the winter. It is North Carolina. It is warm. You get to work dogs. It's no joke school, guys. You're not going down there for a month and rushing through it. They're actually trying to make you real deal dog trainers. Tacticalpolicecaninetraining.com.
Next is a sponsor that's been with us for quite a while, Dogtra. I love Dogtra stuff, and they continually keep bringing out new products. One of the things that I've been using a lot lately is the new Tone Box. If you're a pet trainer or if you train a lot of police officers, and I harp at my guys all the time about timing, and this thing literally compares to the remote. And when you're using the remote, whether you're using Nick, constant, or vibrate, it makes a noise. So you can get the timing down 100% consistent. And so I can demonstrate how to do an out with an e-collar immediately, quickly, and it is so effective that I can't believe that it took me forever to figure it out to get that. They've also got these new comfort feather, like titanium things that go on the collars that are fantastic for making sure we got contact. It actually has 6 points, and this comes in 2 sizes, and it's a titanium feather thing. They're awesome. They got comfort contact points for the bark collars, the YS600, one of my favorite things. I have about 50 of them at the kennel, and it is dead silent. And I put them on all the pet dogs, and I can leave them on because they have the comfort contact points, and they're fantastic. All this stuff you can get at dogture.com. And if you use the discount code WDR10, you get 10% off a single item over $200. So that covers the ball trainer, that covers the 1900 Ask Hands Free, which is my personal favorite for all the big dogs. It covers the 2-dog system, the 202C, which I use for the 2-dog pet guys, and fantastic. So dogture.com, or go to @DogTraOfficial on all the socials. That's Facebook, Instagram, all those places. So hit them up, dogture.com.
Guys, I don't even shop any other sites when I'm looking for everything for dogs. Our one-stop shop for anything pet dog training and police dog training, hunt dog training, anything you need, you can find at rayallen.com. They have been doing it forever. We have a great relationship with them. Again, they're at all the conferences. You can stop up and talk to them. They have more stuff there than any place. rayallen.com. They are amazing. We have a great, really, really good relationship with those guys. Like I said, I get on their website. I do not look anywhere else. I just get on Ray Allen. Why should I? Fill up my cart, pay it, boom, shipping. Here we go. Everything's coming. rayallen.com. And guess what? We do have a discount code for them. Working Dog Radio for 10% off. It's all one, Working Dog Radio, and it's all caps. Check them out, rayallen.com.
I'm not too ashamed to admit that I used our own discount code to buy stuff for the kennel. We have American Aluminum next. They're a new sponsor for moving forward. They have been around for quite a while. They manufacture a wide variety of products, from the high-quality cam lockers and toolboxes to a huge line of products designed to meet the ever-changing needs of law enforcement community. Back in 1992, due to the demand for safe, secure transport for a nearby law enforcement department's canine, they introduced the very first Easy Rider canine. They have continuously grown and expanded products, catering to the needs and wants of the valued customers and high-profile clientele. Over the years, as the needs have changed, they have evolved and expanded their products to include inmate transport systems, canine training aids, canine inserts, contraband, containment, and animal control systems, just to name a couple things. So you can find them at easyrideronline.com. That is Easy Echo Zulu Rider Online.com. You can find them on the socials at American Aluminum Accessories, and then you can hit them up toll free, 1-800-277-0869. You don't have to worry about writing all that down. We're going to put it in the show notes. So just scroll down to the bottom, write it down, click the link, takes you straight there onto your phone.
Our first sponsor we ever had, he's our ride or die. He's been with us since the beginning, is Arno over at ALM Canine Equipment. His stuff is so good. Ted, gets suits. Ted's suit, he's had it for a long time. Arno's fixed it. He's taken 1 million bites on it. It still holds up. The thing's amazing. I've got a suit from him. I love it. Use it all the time. But the main thing that I really love about Arno is his hidden sleeves are ridiculously amazing. They are the best. And his tugs. I usually buy tugs from Arno by the box load. He'll send me a whole bunch of them. I hand them out to the handlers, new handlers when they come in, experienced handlers. They last for a long time. They're amazing. The craft work is great. Arno's doing all the sewing there. He's got pre-made suits. He can do custom-made suits, everything you need out there. And he's out there in sunny Las Vegas. Get on his website, check him out, almcanineequipment.com, almcanineequipment.com. Discount code WD Radio, all caps, 10% off your first order. Check them out. All right, everybody, we're back. Phone plugged in. So yeah, we have a computer problem. So if you see my video looks different than normal. But anyways, it's weird because I have to look straight forward at my phone to talk, but my computer's down here. So if I want to look and see your guys' faces, it looks like I'm staring at the floor. Very weird. But anyways, so David, we're with our friend David Rivera from Black Rock Canines. So David's business model, for the most part, I don't want to speak completely for you, but is getting these dogs in, doing a little bit of work with them, getting them right, and then selling them green to guys like me and Ted. or to some government agencies and some other vendors. And it works out for me because when I get my dogs in from Europe, I have to drive 5.5 to 6 hours to Dulles Airport. I'm there for 2 or 3 hours, and then I drive 6 hours home. I get home at about 1 a.m. because at Dulles, the flight only comes in once a day at it's like 3:45 is basically the time. It's 4:45 before they'll bring the dog up. It's 5 something before you're rolling out of there.
And those dudes are never in a hurry.
No.
They have literally everything else in the world to do than bring you the damn dog.
Yeah,
I bring extra cash for that.
Yeah, there's some slow walking folks there. But anyways, so it's exhausting, and it's always a Thursday. So I still have to work the next day. So David lives in Connecticut, and him and I meet about halfway. It's about 3.5 to 4 hours for both of us. We meet at this little gas station in this little town in Pennsylvania. Guy usually get a slice and a monster while we're there. And he brings dogs that we've already talked about, some extra for me to look at. We always park in the same spot. It's beautiful. We get the dogs, and I mean, unless he's showing me dogs I haven't seen yet, we're 20 minutes, turn around, high five, good to see you, off we go. And that's like we meet at like noon, 11 o'clock or noon. So I'm back at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock. It's awesome. It's perfect. We've done it on a weekday. We've done it on weekends. It works out real well. Sometimes it's David. Sometimes it's his guys. I met his father, who's a handsome man with a big head of hair. That guy. And but like in shape forever. One of them dudes that you hate. You know, he'll be skinny and in shape. You know what I mean? That's his genetics. So, but we have a good relationship. David and I have got all very good dogs from him. So there's 2 things I want to talk about. One, you always tell me and I'm just one of however many clients you have. I know exactly what you like now. It took me a little bit, but now I know what you like. What is that?
Oh man, what you like?
Yeah.
So, I mean, right off the bat, the environmentals have to be there. No crazy issues. Dog needs to be able to jump up onto multiple surfaces and be stable. So when I say stable, like no shaking, no dropping, no ears back, just confident in what it needs to do environmentally speaking. You as a customer, really, you value bite work. And when I say that, it's not, you want your dog to go after the man, and not to be fixed on equipment. So to give an example, if you're there as a decoy in front of the dog and you drop the bite sleeve in front of it, you want that dog barking at you and eyes on you, not on the bite sleeve. In regards to tracking, you want a dog that's spot on, head down, using its nose, not fixed on using its eyes, and then ball work. The dog just has to have it for you. You from what I've seen, you really don't like the monster dogs. You like a nice compact dog, easy to carry, easy to throw over a fence. Did I nail it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and every dog's, listen though, we had Johnny, and he's a monster. He was a big boy. I didn't mind Johnny. But it's, I had a dog in my kennel from another vendor one time that was a giant shepherd, humongous, huge, big bones, just a huge, very nice dog, like working hard. And I had 3 departments test him, and they all failed him for the same reason. It's too big.
Too big. Yep.
But Ted and I have talked about this though. If you've got more than a few kennels, you got to have a couple biggies in there, because the dudes will go down through and they'll be like, I want the 100-pounder, the 90-pounder. I want a 90, 80-pound. Yeah, your first dog, you might.
Yeah, yeah. Or you get the guy that's 6'5".
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I don't mind them, you know, like the dog Jack that I got from you that's here now, is perfect. I got a dog Lutz and a dog Lewis that are tall mouths, you know, not huge dogs, good muscular, but kind of tall. I've gotten some real small dogs in the past, not from you, but from other vendors, and they work out real well. It's just everybody always side eyes them a little bit, you know, and you know, and Ted knows it, that you having various sizes is good, I get, but it's nice having a vendor who knows what I like and what I don't like. And I was able early on to show you, look through some of the videos you send me from Europe and go, hey, your guy did this to you in this video, just so you know.
Yep.
Because me, you, Ted, and everybody else who looks at multiple dog videos would do it when we're doing things and we miss stuff. Because sometimes you're in a hurry and you gotta get going. And there's some stuff that gets snuck in there, or more importantly, gets left out of the whole mix. You know, if I'm looking at 6 or 8 videos of 6 or 8 dogs and they're all doing the exact same thing, and then I notice that one particular dog was not shown going up and down the metal steps. It was real fast, like sleight of hand, real quick.
You remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, just so you know, on that one dog, your guy skipped that part. There's a reason for it.
Yep.
Was it you that was telling me like they were trying to sell this dog and like they would show him doing bite work and it was beautiful, but they would never show him never show them taking him off, like outing him? Or
that was a long time ago. That was a guy in Holland. That was a guy in Holland who reached out to me a couple times, and he was a onesie twosie guy. You know, he only had a couple dogs, and the dog he was showing me looked badass, like a banger. But there was one time I could see they were, you know, because they weren't lifting off, they were choking off with the thing, and I could see as they turned the camera off that dog had turned back towards the guy. And I'm like, he bit that fucker and he kept it out of there. And because I don't want that, you know,
no.
You can't predict it on some dogs, but knowing if a dog is for sure 100% going to come up the leash, like bad up the leash, you're getting that dog back. It's coming back to us. And
every time.
Yeah. And a little bit of growing pains, a little bit of issues. That's cool. I'm not worried about that. I don't mind a dog who's a little, a little spicy, but the one that every time, no matter what, is going to put a guy in the hospital. It doesn't matter who it is. I'm not interested in those.
That's the problem I have. Like I get comfortable around dogs like that, and that I can handle them, right? But
God bless you.
well, I can, but I don't.
Yeah.
There aren't many police officers that I would turn the leash over to and be like, "Here you go, don't get bit,"
Right.
and that be enough. Like they're gonna get smoked, and it's not their fault. I mean, they're not fucking trainers; they're cops. So, and even an experienced handler. I mean, I've had experienced handlers get nuked or seen it happen before, and so it's kind of one of these. Like I have to remind myself a lot of times, or somebody else reminds me. It's usually Alicia. I'm like, yeah, I like this dog, and she's like, who are you going to sell that to? Like, who's going to fucking buy that? I'm like, well, you kind of sit back and think, and I'm like, okay. I mean, and like you're right. I mean, 100% of the time, the dog, without reason, comes back and smokes, or without a valid reason, comes back and smokes the handler. And 100% of the time, admins blame the dog. I don't care if the handler overcorrected and did everything wrong. They blame the fucking dog, and then they blame you, and then they blame you, and then you're like, well, he never bit me because I didn't do that. So, or I'm faster. So I don't know. Get faster. He won't bite you.
The one thing I like about David, for those of you listening, is he's the same as me. We don't fuck around with our warranty. Take the dog for a little while. If it's not working back, bring him back. We switch it out. I have a warranty. I don't dick around with it. I sold a really nice dog to an agency not too long ago. The guy had the dog for 4 or 5 days, violated all the rules he was given about this dog, and the dog smoked him in the calf and put him in the hospital. So I wake up in the morning one day, I turn my phone on. Granted, he got the dog on Friday, Wednesday morning, my phone. I get up and the sergeant, who's a good dude, is texting me. He's like, hey, call me when you're up. I'm like, motherfucker, this is not good.
Yeah.
And sure enough, you know, he tells me the story and they're super bummed out about it. He really likes the dog and the dog's amazing. And there's a lot of people, a lot of vendors that would say, hey, that was not your fault. That's that kid's fault. He was told, do not do X, Y, and Z. And he 100% did X, Y, and Z and got bit, like legit. And I was like, just give me the fucking dog. Give me the dog back, and we'll replace him. Because I'm not, you know, relationships. We've talked about this, Ted and I, numerous times on here. Agencies come back to you based on relationship, good relationship, and even if you screwed them over, they still go back to some of these vendors depending on a name. And so I'm trying to keep those good relationships. I don't mess around, especially because this department got screwed over by like 2 vendors. Like just they had a dog that had a seizure during class, a couple seizures, and like within a week out of class was dead. And the vendor refused to take the dog back, saying they did something to him. And come on, man. I mean, whatever. But real quick before we get into the other thing that David always bitches at me about, and he probably has said it to Ted too, but he gets on me about it, and he's right, is guys like me, especially smaller guys, don't charge enough for our dogs. We don't charge enough for our dogs and our training. And I have raised my prices based off of what David told me. Now I have a very, very, very large kennel in my area that I'm competing with. It's like we get along and everything like that. It's not a problem, but he kind of sets the price point for the area a little bit, and we're close. We're real close, but I was just underneath him in the full package, as is in a pre-trained dog and a handler school. Not anymore. I raised it. I just really started doing the math because now I have a kid that works for me and I'm paying him, and all the handler school training money goes to him. So not making anything out of it. But do you see that a lot you have to have that talk with a lot of people?
Yeah. It's quite funny. So I sell dogs to some major canine companies in the country, and because I'm selling them the dog, they're not in the game. You know, they don't know what's going on overseas. They don't know about COVID. So I have to really educate them on the market. And you know, I look at their prices to see what they're selling dogs at. And I'm like, you gotta up it, because you're not gonna make anything on the dogs. I mean, there was one point where, and you guys can probably attest to this, where you can get a good dog here for $3,500. That does not happen anymore. No. I wish. So vendors that are selling, you know, their green dogs for $7,500. I mean, what are you doing? There's no margin. And I'm the kind of guy where I'll spend more to get really, really good dogs, because if you do that, the dogs are just gonna go. But in the dog world, you get what you pay for. If you want a nice dog, you're gonna spend the money on it. But by doing that, you're gonna save yourself a ton of headaches.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That's onesies and twosies, and like the days of and I had to have this conversation, a very similar conversation with a former partner of mine, and I'm just like, the days of the $2,500 dog are gone. Dual purpose anyway. Yeah, I mean, that's you definitely can't count on it. Well, and that's the thing, like, you know, I just said at the very beginning, you have these departments that buy 2 dogs a decade, and they come back to you and they're like, "Oh, we paid this much last time." I'm like, "Yeah, and gas was $1." Like, I mean, like, what do you want me to tell you? I mean, you could fly to Europe. That was before it was fucking EU. I had a customer come back to me and I'm like, "Yeah, the last time you bought a dog, the EU wasn't a thing. Like, it came from Holland, or it came from the Netherlands, and I like when it was a country, like it's still a country, but it wasn't part of the EU." And I was like, "That's how long it's been. Like, we paid for the dog, and we didn't pay with fucking euros." And they're like, "Oh, has it been that long?" I'm like, "Yes, it has."
It's crazy. It's like inflation doesn't exist in the dog industry. And guys are so scared of raising their prices for, for fear that they're going to go to the next guy. And what I have to say is, if you're good, your clients are going to stay.
Yeah.
We just had another agency reach out to us for a handler course. And, our handler course is close to the $20,000 price point, and they didn't bat an eye.
Yeah, that's been my experience the last 7 or 8 months too. So they've just kind of accepted it, I guess. I don't know if it's COVID or what, but I mean, that's what I'm blaming everything on. Like, it's fucking COVID. Like,
well, if you get, and we talked about this with Aaron Taylor on here and a couple other guys, if you're a small kennel, maybe you have just a few kennels and you're really trying to get into this, and you're buying green dogs and then selling them, and if you get one dog returned to you, you're probably out of business.
Yep.
Because you probably don't have a replacement dog in there, and then you're gonna have to shell out another $6,000 if you're importing dogs to replace it, and nobody can afford that. When you're the small time, and I'm small. I have 8 kennels. I'm small time. That's why I'm so got to be so selective on who I do business with, because I can't afford a shitter. I can't. I don't have an off lay, and I won't off lay it. Like if Ted's the same way. If we got a dog that's just not going to be a dual purpose dog, there are departments that would still buy that dog. Because we don't really care, There's a department down south where somebody told me the administration said, we don't care. The trainer went to him and said, this dog is not going to bite, and they said, we don't care. It just has to say it on paper. Yeah, and but I can't do that. I can't sell that dog. You know what I mean? I can't do it.
Dude, someone's life is on the line.
Yeah, I worked that dog. I know that dog. Trust me.
Yep.
So, all right, let's move on. Ted, you got what are we going to talk about next?
The 501. So part of like the addressing some of this stuff we've been talking about, what do you have cooking with this 501?
Man, so this is really, really exciting. I've been working on this for about 1.5 years, 2 years. Basically, once I realized that you can't do it on the for-profit side. So I created this 501(c). It's a nonprofit organization called the American Detection Dog Foundation. And so the primary purpose of this nonprofit is to raise working dogs here in the United States. And so the reason why I chose the nonprofit route is because a nonprofit's built to support communities, to support the United States. And if you lose a dog, right? If you're raising this dog and you lose it, the nonprofit can absorb those losses, being a public entity there to support the public. And so it's been a journey with the nonprofit. You talk about a lot of work that has to go into it, but it's been one of the most rewarding things I've done in my life, to be honest. You think about purpose, right, and what we're all here for. My belief now is I'm here to get the United States self-sustained in working dogs, and with that, our program is going to be based here in the USA. We're going to start in Connecticut, but the main goal is to have kennels across the country in geographically strategic areas in place so that they can support those local police departments and or federal agencies with their dogs. So that being said, we collect donations from the public to be able to raise these dogs.
So we've had a lot of talks, man, and Ted and I originally had kind of talked about something like this, and I know there's probably people on there that are thinking similar things. Oh, I had that kind of same idea. Tell people like how long this shit takes to get this stuff even started.
Well, it's funny, right? Like the hardest part is to start. And you talk about, just the attorneys, right? So I've coughed up over $6,000 of my own money to get this done. And to get this to go through the IRS and get our official status. It's tough, man. You try to strategize and think about raising money during COVID, right? I mean, right. Everyone's hurting, and I was thinking, this is going to suck because I'm going to be asking people for money for something that I believe is so important. And listen, I think this is incredibly important. Right now, the U.S. as a whole relies on other countries for our own national security, right? So if one day, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if one day China says, you know what, we're going to buy all those dogs in Europe just so the U.S. can't have them, what are we going to do? How are we going to find bombs? Are we going to find narcotics? We got dogs working at CBP that alert to people, right? So human traffickers, wildlife protection. These are the only things that work, right? Dogs are the only things that are effective at doing this. And the U.S. government has tried to develop devices, right? Freaking research studies to do this and haven't been able to do it. And it actually said the only thing that is effective at finding, these bombs at our borders or in buildings, on planes, are dogs. So we currently rely on other countries for our own national security. And that's why Congress has been writing laws to get some kind of breeding program, some kind of raising program here in the United States. My own senator, Senator Blumenthal, he's part of the National Defense Committee, and he's been pushing to try to get a working dog program started on the federal side. Well, federal government's already tried it a couple of times and ended up ending those programs. Just ended up being too much. And so to do this on the nonprofit side, I really, really think that we have a great chance of succeeding at this for a couple reasons. We're going to be able to raise money from people that support and love working dogs. And when we really educate the public and say, hey, this is needed because without these dogs, we can't find bombs. We can't find illegal drugs. They're the only ones that can do it. It's a pretty easy argument to win. And then, with these kennels that are going to be built across the country, these raising centers, my plan is to partner up with some of the best trainers and best breeders in the country. That have the passion for this, right? And, my goal isn't to create some kind of cookie cutter program. My goal is to figure out who in the country is going to have the best success at raising these dogs across the country. It's a little competition.
Right. I was just going to ask you, you know, you having the ability to bump up to 40 kennels is not enough for what you were talking about.
Yeah.
That's why I was glad you mentioned the other kennels. Geographically, you could do this all over the United States. You could have, you know, the couple on the East Coast, in the middle of the country, the South, the you know, over in Oklahoma where Ted's at, the out west. So where are we at with it? If you launched a first fundraiser, what's coming up? Let's get some money rolling into this thing.
That's what I'm talking about. So we got a GoFundMe started. The GoFundMe is, you know, it's a pretty hefty goal. We're looking to raise 1.75 million. That goes into infrastructure costs. That goes into, you know, hiring staff to train dogs. That goes into buying great breeding stock, finding great breeding stock across the country. There's so many things that this is going to need to get started. So, you know, we're fundraising now. We're looking for sponsors. We're looking for donors. We're looking for people that love canine, and quite honestly love this country, right? So I'm one of three. So I have three brothers. Every single one of us has served this country. You know, I served in the Air Force. My middle brother is currently in the Air Force. And my youngest brother, I couldn't convince to not join the Air Force, and he ended up going into the Marine Corps. Don't hold him against him. I love him. But you know, my brother right now is currently serving overseas on deployment. And when I say, like, you know, if you've never served, or even if you did serve, like, this is the next best patriotic thing that you can do to, you know, protect your country, right? Donate to this. Support this, spread this, you know, spread this this podcast, and let's get funded. The faster we get funded, the faster we can start putting other kennels across the country, getting other trainers involved, and really making this program work. What I've seen in the past is, you know, the federal government pumps all this money into research, right? And so you see a lot of universities get this working dog money, but you know, the money never goes to the knuckle dragger, right? The money never goes to the guys that can actually get it done. And so I'm with this nonprofit, I'm trying to get that so that we can get the money from the federal government and from the country, right? To support this program and get guys in this country that are guys and women that are great at raising dogs and working these dogs, to be able to be put in place and get us to the point that we need to be, right? So my 10-year goal is to have numerous kennels across the country, raising centers across the country, so that we can raise 1,500 dogs, at least 1,500 dogs a year, and put them into service. That's my 10-year goal. So that starts now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, how do they do it? Where's the GoFundMe? Where's the
yeah. So that's great. So if you go to, there's a couple ways to donate. If you go to AmericanDetDog.org, so it's American DET dog.org. Check out the website. There's a donate link on there. You can donate right there. We also have a GoFundMe. So if you go to GoFundMe.com, you can type in American Detection Dog Foundation. That's going to pull up our GoFundMe. You could donate there as well. I mean, we take everything. So you want to send us a check, you know, Stripe, Cash App, PayPal, whatever's most convenient for you, we're able to take. So we kind of made it streamless and easy.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. I'm looking at the website right now. So very cool. That is a very worthwhile project, because like we said in the second half of this, like, where's the gap? Like, you know, we've noticed this gap, and it's been kind of coming for a long time, but I think COVID, much like it mess with everything. It kind of highlighted the gap, the bottleneck and the gap. And like Eric, I don't know if we recorded this part. Oh yeah, we did, because we talked about Snap running around on on the fucking runway. So you like the shipping companies just are really like not interested in doing it. Like it's
No.
what it's like. So yeah, but
They don't want to ship dogs across the country.
no,
Oh no, they definitely do not.
no,
No.
they definitely do not. I had a guy in California ask me, he was like, "Who would you shoot? What airline would you use to ship?" I'm like, "I wouldn't," because they're not going to take a dog. I mean, because I can't fly a big dog out of Tulsa, or the crate. The planes aren't big enough here, so I'd have to drive it to like Dallas, and like, which I mean, it's a fucking 5-hour drive. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Let's let one of the transporters take him. But yeah, so yeah. So, and you guys have Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff, right?
Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah,
Yep. We have all our tags on there. So, you know, another thing that we're doing with the nonprofit is we're giving departments the ability to control their own canine monies, right? So, you know, I was able to fundraise, you know, over $60,000 for my canine unit. And what we found is, you know, it's difficult to sometimes get what you need in your units, right? Because the town manager needs to sign off on it. The finance person needs to sign off on it. So by the time you get all those signatures, or you get a check to pay your vendor, which is very important. Eric, you know about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Eric has horror stories about this.
Yeah. By the time that happens, you know, you end up having these horrible relationships that have gone sour because, you know, your vendor can't get paid. So what we do is we actually team up with departments and fundraise with them. And so the monies that are raised get earmarked specifically for that canine unit, that department. And essentially what happens is, let's say, you know, Tulsa has a canine unit and they were able to fundraise $100K and they need a new canine vehicle. Right. And listen, I'm telling you, if you ask, there are people in your cities and towns that will donate, right?
Oh, I know.
You just have to ask. Yeah.
Oh, I know.
So the way it will work is, you know, if Tulsa gets $100K donated and it's sitting in the American Detection Dog Foundation, all that's needed is a phone call from the chief or a designated person that's allowed to spend those monies. And it's like, yeah, Dave, we want to buy a new vehicle. Here's the vehicle. This is the invoice price. Please send the check there. Done. So if you want to streamline your processes and make it easy, get the approval, let's start teaming up and helping you fundraise and pad those accounts. Because, you know, as we move forward in the world we're living in, you know, this whole defund the police movement, it's tough. It's tough. And, you know, canine may be the first to go in some departments.
You know, and then that kind of in the same vein, I actually know several departments that use some interstates almost like an ATM. And but right, so the seizure money goes into like the general fund, right? And then a lot of the interdiction stuff generates that, and a lot of the dogs are tied to the interdiction stuff. But when it comes time to replace a dog or buy a fucking leash, they're like, what do you mean?
Yep.
What do you mean we need a new dog? But the SWAT team wants new suppressors. Here's $500,000. Here's $500,000. Here you go. Go hit up Surefire. Here's a card.
And there's a lot of people listening right now. They're like, dude, every donation that comes into our canine program, they steal it basically and stick it in the general fund.
Yep.
We learned after Jethro died, and I don't know if it's Ohio thing or national thing, but most police departments, it's illegal for them to take donations. They're not allowed. But what happens is they do it and no one challenges it. It's actually illegal. And so a lot of the bigger departments form foundations, basically. Like say Baltimore PD is a pretty big PD. They got a foundation that can take donations. So this is where you step in, hey, we're gonna house your funds, and ain't nobody gonna take your canine money to use it to pay for some other bullshit outside of canine. That's very super important because it's shady. There's the receiving and doling out of fundraiser monies through a department or through a city is shady as shit. It gets stolen all the time. And when I'm saying stolen, I mean it's earmarked, it's marked on the check for canine, and they stick it in some other account. That's stealing.
Yeah.
Period. Stealing.
Then there's the whole issue of the one that I love all the time, and we say it is, oh, we don't have a budget for it. And I'm like, there's not a line item. Like, I've seen these budgets. Like, there's not a line item on there that says canine. It's just whatever the fuck they feel like.
Yeah.
And that's an excuse. Like, oh, we don't have any money for it. I'm like, what?
If it meant something to him, you would. If it was important.
No, yeah. Hey, well, that's what and that's what we say all the time. Like, what is the one specialized unit in law enforcement that never has to fundraise? SWAT.
Yep. Never.
You don't ever see them motherfuckers washing cars. Never. You'll never see a SWAT guy washing a car. I swear to God. He might wash his, but he ain't out there fucking fundraising. He's not asking a body shop for a $2,500 check to buy a dog or a suppressor. So that I can guarantee you.
So what's the Black Rock social media? Give that and the website and everything, people can get a hold of you.
Got it. So it's blackrockcanines.com. You can go on there. My email, all of our information is on there. And then for Instagram and Facebook, it's Black Rock K9S. So at Black Rock K9S.
Yep, I have a pile of stickers. I just put one on my fridge today at the fun house.
Yeah,
nice.
I had my shirt on the other day.
Yeah.
I appreciate the support.
I'm at Ted_Summers on Instagram, Torchlight Pets for all of our pets. We had this German Shepherd come to us as just a defensive jerk. And when he came, I thought he was going to murder me. And then I taught him to shake because he's a pet. And we have a video of him shaking a month after he tried to murder me. So yeah, we got Torchlight Pets up there. Go follow it for cute dog photos. And then Alicia ordered us a bunch of like little square hats and ties for the graduation pets thing. And I was like, God bless. This is well, we're gonna put it on the pit bull tomorrow. So Prince the pit bull is gonna be wearing a graduation hat and tie because he's going home tomorrow. So we'll
I keep getting bugged by my folks to do that, and I keep forgetting. So
just ask Alicia. She'll give you she found him. I don't know where she found him. And then Torchlight K9, letter K number 9 for the police side. Same thing on the Facebook, Torchlight Pets, Torchlight Canine. Logos look the same, just says one. It'll be obvious what you're looking at. I promise. You will know. You will not be surprised. And Eric, you just had an Instagram or a social media change, right? So
I'm still Van S Canine. Van S Canine there on Instagram. That's mostly where I'm at. The Van S Canine Facebook, which has always been Pets, is going to start in May. Is going to go over to all Police Canine, and then all pet related stuff will be at Ridgeside Canine, Ohio. Teamed up with Aaron to rebrand the pet side. I just wanted to separate everything. So Ridgeside Canine, Ohio on Facebook, and our Ridgeside Canine, Ohio on Instagram, and then ridgesidecanineohio.com. So yeah, man, David, really appreciate it. We get to talk about once a week, and it's crazy. And think about this, folks: 40 kennels, all this stuff going on, and still works the fucking patrol dog on the patrol shift at night. It's insanity.
And don't you have like 3 kids?
Two.
Okay, and a dog. You got 2 kids and a dog.
And a dog and another German Shepherd, but I wouldn't trade it in for the world.
Yeah. There's time to sleep when you're dead, right?
Exactly, bro.
All right. Speaking of sleep, it's 10:47. I gotta go to bed.
I'm gonna go eat.
All right, we'll see you, boys.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Yep, thanks for having me.